Mr. City Manager, we're ready for open study.
Mayor and members of the council, thank you very much and good evening. I'd like to introduce Mary Newman and Cheryl Martin to discuss special events for 2023 at Linden Square and the Atkins Johnson Farm and Museum.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mary Newman. I think this is the clicker here to get started. Oh. There we go. Sorry about that. Technical issues gets all of us, doesn't it? So to start off with just a little bit about last year's season, we broke our record for attendance by quite a good margin. We had 11,585 people come out and use the facility last year, which was just wonderful. We were very, very pleased. Our previous record was in 2018 with 3,643 people. So the biggest thing to make up this great difference was the addition of the Gladstone Farmers Market out on the property. That made up about 5,000 people. But as you'll notice, even without the Farmers Market, we still had 6,066 people out and using the facility, which really does show that Atkins Johnson is growing in the eyes of the community, and we really are getting more and more people using the site. In addition, we also introduced a new event last year, the Big Shoal Farm Sunflower Field Festival, and we're awarded by the North Kansas City School District and the Mid-America Regional Council for our work last year. Okay, so here's just a breakdown of our numbers from the last several years. You can see in detail on the top line what our attendance was on a month-by-month basis. If you guys have any questions, I can kind of pause here, but otherwise I'll keep going. So here's a full list of the proposed 2023 programs and events. Most of it is stuff that you guys on council are going to be a little more familiar with. The real big changes would be the 10-year anniversary party that we're planning for the 8th, which I'll go into in a little more detail in a moment, as well as you'll notice that the car show is not present on the list. Kyle was not able to help us host this year, so we dropped it for the 2023 season. And the Big Shoal Farm Sunflower Field Festival, since we know in advance, we'll be hosting, as well as the Big Shoal Farm Pumpkin Festival, which we'll be hosting this year with a hopefully very successful pumpkin crop. So the 10-year anniversary party, we're planning to host on the 8th, which is the first Saturday after the museum opens for the season. We're planning a 3-hour-long party with the first hour being a little bit more ceremonial, celebrating the museum with a few speeches from community members as well as myself, and a presentation based on a booklet that was handed out when the museum first opened, From Code Violation to Museum, and the following 2 hours will be an open house with a jazz band as well as some light hors d'oeuvres. For the 10-year anniversary throughout the season, we're also planning to celebrate. We honored our volunteers a little bit at this year's annual luncheon. We also have a commemorative bookmark coming out for the season. We are planning to put signage up in the museum, do a photo contest, and a few things like that, as well as internal celebration for the Friends organization. And here is our listed Friends events for the season. Once again, it looks mostly familiar other than the addition of the field festivals. So the Big Shoal Farm is getting ready for its 4th season. I'm sure several people in this room are already excited for corn. I know I am. So that'll be on its usual schedule for crop production. The big additions here, once again, are the field festivals. And I also wanted to kind of note publicly for you guys that we were tracking numbers this year for both the farm itself and for the farmers market. And there was a noted increase for both the farm and the farmers market during joint production season. So that really was a great venture to have both those out together. Both of those saw a big increase when they were out there at the same time. Oh. And this year's exhibit schedule will kick off with Simple Living in Complex Time, Home Life in the 1930s, which is a very immersive type exhibit focusing specifically on this decade. So we're pretty excited to open with that one. And it'll be kind of the theme for the 10-year anniversary party as well. Our summer exhibit opening in July and ending in August is Plains, Terrains, and Landscape Change, an environmental history of this region, focusing on how we as people have interacted with the environment and changed the landscape of this area over the last several hundred years. And we'll, in the fall, be hosting an exhibit from the Watkins Museum out of Kansas. It's a traveling exhibit titled Living Sovereignty, Sustaining Indigenous Autonomy in Indian Territory, Kansas. So we'll be focusing on our neighbors directly to the west, particularly in the 19th and 20th century, and their fight to remain independent, separate nations as rather tumultuous stuff was going on throughout the nation. And you can see listed below some of the tribes it'll be focused on in particular. And of course, we'll finish up the season with the traditional holiday toys that I'm sure you guys are a little more familiar with. So does anyone have any questions for me?
Thank you, Mary. Questions, comments?
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question for you. I know that I'm a big farmer's market goer and across the city, and I know that in some places, definitely the number of people who are there has gone down dramatically. Like Parkville is dramatically different than it used to be. Overland Park is busting at the seams. I would really love it if we had more vendors. I mean, sometimes when you're out there and there's 3 tents, it's pretty sparse. And I know that your numbers show that the farmers market, that there was an increase, but is there any way that we can generate more vendors for the farmers market?
We are working with that with the farmers market organization. So one of the things we did simply to help with that is tracking our numbers a little bit better. We're trying to see how many people come so we can advertise that to vendors. What the farmers market does to keep itself as more of a farmers market, they only will take in so many craft or other type vendors per fruit and vegetable vendor, or they would also take jams and jellies and those kind of things. They want food-based products.
Right, which makes total sense.
So Pam, who is the head of that, is trying to entice. We've talked with a few different people. We actually hopefully have a new jelly vendor going in this year, but it's a slow process. We do advertise. We put information up on our website and on the farmers market's website as well. So we're hoping that showing the success and the growth and tracking these kind of numbers, because this is the kind of data people want. They want to see that if they come to Gladstone and come to our farmers market, they're going to make money. So that's kind of our strategy right now, is proving that we have a successful market and that if they come to it, it will only grow and they will have success with us.
Good. Whatever we need to do along those lines, I would totally support.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Smith.
First of all, thank you for the tour the other day, and I haven't been out there in quite a while, and it's fabulous, of course.
Of course.
Do you know, is the Northwest Missouri produce auction still a thing?
I have heard about that. I have never been myself.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of a vicious cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
More customers to get more vendors to get more customers, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Let's check into. I'll check into that. And what it is it's a huge auction from the Amish community. Must be grown within 50 miles or so, and you can go out there and buy produce time of year by the thousands: cantaloupe, watermelon, corn, beans, whatever, berries that they bring in for auction. It used to be twice a week, and maybe we could seed the market a little bit, because it is local produce. It has to be proven to be local within, it's either 50 or 100 miles. And maybe we could create some of those vendors on our own to get more customers. If someone wouldn't have sold their pickup truck recently.
I still have one.
So, I mean, would something like that qualify for what they would allow in the market?
I would have to double check with Pam, but I do believe so. We definitely do have vendors that are a little farther out that come into for the market.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could, continue to develop that synergy between the farmers market, and the sunflowers and pumpkins and everything else out there that's been so popular. We have a lot of people going out there, and hey, the farmers market's there too. So, that's helping to pull people there, more than just the city market or the farmers market itself. So
that was definitely our primary marketing strategy for enticing new people last year, and it does seem to work. I do believe she got at least one, if not two, new vendors out there last year. I'd have to double check my records to see exactly that, but I know she got at least one new person.
at the very least, the farm is getting the foot traffic from the farm produce. Anybody that comes out there is a good thing. So.
And she has told me that she got new vendors or new people coming as customers just from being out there. People that regularly walk or in that community are venturing there a little bit more since they know it's there. It's a little bit more parking available. So she said that her numbers have benefited as well.
Right. Any other comments,
Mayor?
questions? Yes,
I do.
please.
This might not be a question for Mary, but maybe for Justin or for Scott, regarding the barn. Is there any progress? Have we, made any type of progress with that? Made any decisions on that?
Yeah, we hope to select a consultant to do the feasibility study, probably in about 60 days, and then get that project kicked off, and then it'll be scheduled accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
I think the Friends are going to just pick up the tab for the whole thing for us. So,
They are very supportive and would like to help.
thank you, Mary.
I'm a little shorter here. Good evening, I'm Cheryl Martin. I'm the Special Events Coordinator for the department and for Linden Square. What'd you do with the clicker?
Yes, that's the clicker.
Figure out how to work this. Well, no, I got it. Thank you. So Sounds on the Square, I know you guys are very familiar with Sounds on the Square. The only difference this year is that our third Saturday, our Saturday concerts will be tribute bands. So we'll be focusing on the bigger band experiences on those Saturdays. And then the last Friday of the month will be focused on country music. So country music did really well last year, so I hope to see those grow even more this year. Festivals. These are our big festivals for the year. I know that you're familiar with all of these. Last year we did not do Kids Fest because we did not have me in this position. So we're adding that back in, and we start that day off with the Cutie Pie Try, which is a little triathlete event that we do for 3 to 5 year olds. So, and you guys are familiar with the others. Food, art, drink. Call to Artist has went out, so we're starting to see vendors come in, and we'll be jurying those as we go along. Your entertainment is listed up there. Looking forward to a good event this year. Okay, Kids Fest. I kind of explained that here just a little bit ago. So, Fiesta. This is our event that we partner with the Northland Christmas Store to fundraise for them and provide an ethnic heritage, Hispanic heritage cultural event out at the square. Whiskey Fest, you guys all know about. This is probably our biggest event of the summer, biggest crowds, and our performers this year, we will have Outlaw Jim back. New this year will be Silver Bullet, and it's a Bob Seger tribute. Last year we only had one movie on the square. This year we will go back up to 2. We will play Ant-Man, Quantumania, and Puss in Boots in July. The Puss in Boots, I got a sponsorship. The Dentistry for Children will be sponsoring that event. Trivia night, we did not have that last year either. We'll be adding that back in. That is in June. I do not have a theme yet. Still kind of playing around with some ideas for the programming for that. Oh. Paint and Sip is also, we're also bringing that one back. We will partner with a local artist to teach the program, and we'll work with Stone Canyon to provide the wine and food. Whoops. And then we end our Linden Square season with the Mayor's Tree Lighting. Any questions for me?
Question, Mayor Pro Tem?
Hi.
Hi.
One of the things that I have, talked to Justin about 1,000 times, so you're gonna hear it one more time. There's not enough lighting for Food, Art, and Drink and for Whiskey Fest. It's so dark where those vendors are, and I know that we try to encourage them that they need to bring lighting and all, but if there's anything we can do to say you must bring lighting, it's just too dark.
It is.
Just way too dark, and it's not inviting when it's like that, and quite honestly, it's not safe. So I'm not just safe in terms of people tripping, or I just think that we really need, whether it's lights strung across or we just require them to have some kind of lighting, but I really encourage us to try to make a big effort for that.
Okay. We can talk about some creative ways to produce more lighting.
Thank you. Otherwise, it looks great.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Yeah, good comments. How is the stage and amphitheater holding up for the performers? I know we put that stage through a lot of use. I know every once in a while we deal with some electrical issues or those heating panels up on the ceiling. I'm just wondering if we're providing a venue that is supporting our performers the way they should.
We do ask Yates Electric go through and check all of our electric every year before we kick the season off, make sure all those ground pods are working and what have you. You do bring up a good point, though. We did find that those heaters above stage were in disrepair this past year, so we will check on that before the cold season hits again and we start using that portion of the stage. But otherwise, the lights work well. A lot of performers bring their own lights in, though, if they want colored upright lighting, that type of thing. But we do have it checked on a regular basis, and as you can imagine, those ground source electrical boxes do sustain quite a bit of damage, whether it be hitting by a mower or just being in a bad environment, being on the ground.
Right. Thank you. Just wondering. Any other comments, questions? None?
No.
Cheryl, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, the second item has to do with senior leadership and residency, if I can proceed. You know, from time to time, topics pop up, and we want to bring those to your attention if they need to be addressed or they can cause a problem in the future. This is one of those items. Our employment practices require that certain senior leadership live within the city limits of Gladstone, which in the 1960s, when that code was written, you know, made perfect sense. In today's environment, it doesn't. And to make sure that we can attract and recruit the best personnel for senior leadership in the city, I think we ought to at least talk about changing the residency requirement for some of the positions. So currently, city council members that are either elected or appointed by the council are required to live in the city. The city manager, municipal judges, the city councilor, if employed full-time, the police chief and the fire chief are also required to live in the city limits of Gladstone. In addition to that, the city clerk is required to live in the city collector and city treasurer, which in our world is the finance director, and the city engineer and director of public works, which is simply one position in the director of public works, are all required to live in the city. So by changing the definition of those officers, we can adjust who is required to live in the city and who isn't. What I would suggest that the council consider is that city council members that are elected or appointed, municipal judges, and the city manager live in the city limits of Gladstone, allowing us to recruit from a broader population of people for any future vacancies that may exist. There are a couple of department directors not mentioned so far. Those are residency required by city manager policy, and if the council would consider changing the residency by code, the city manager would change his policy to reflect that and make it equitable for all department directors. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions. If there isn't any, then I'd suggest we could have this on your next agenda for your consideration.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
Mayor, I'm fully supportive of this measure. We've talked about it. I just think that it's necessary in this day and age that we have the opportunity to recruit from the entire metropolitan area and beyond. I think that, part of this is also having a 30-minute response time, which I think is fair because pretty much you can get anywhere in this town in 30 minutes. But, you know, to keep competitive with all of our directors and leadership, I think that we need to really look at this and take it seriously.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
you might recall a recent discussion, I suggested a contrary position, and, then on my way home, it dawned on me that had other cities followed their policy that strictly, I'd still be living in Shawnee, Kansas.
That is correct.
So, hey, I'm good.
Thank you. Other, questions?
I concur with Councilmember Spallo. I think it's past time for us to do this. I think it's the right thing to do, and I think that the most important thing for all of our positions is to get the best qualified candidate, not where they live.
Very good. Thank you so much. We'll prepare it for your next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I came out of South Dakota where we didn't have residency requirements, because if you didn't live in town, there was nothing else close, you know, nearby, so you didn't have any other choices. Thank you. We'll, convene for our regular meeting at 7:30. Yep. Evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the March 13th, 2023 regular meeting of the Gladstone City Council and call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, all the members of the City Council are present and we have a quorum. Item 3, would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? We have tonight Troop 260 from the North Cross United Methodist Church to lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you all for being here this evening. Next item is approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. We have 4 resolutions and 2 ordinances for our consideration tonight. Does anyone have any changes to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Item 5 is approval of the minutes from the February 27th, 2023 closed City Council meeting.
Mayor Garnis.
Councilman Malams.
I move to approve the minutes from the February 27th, 2023 closed City Council meeting.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the February 27th, 2023 closed City Council meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are hereby approved. Item 6 is approval of the minutes from the February 27th, 2023 regular City Council meeting.
Mayor Garnis.
Councilman Malams.
I move to approve the minutes from the February 27th, 2023 regular City Council meeting.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the February 27th, 2023 regular City Council meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes are hereby approved. We move on to item 7. We have a proclamation tonight for Arbor Day. I understand Director Murphy will be accepting the proclamation on behalf of the city. It reads, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton first proposed that a special commemorative day be officially established for the planting of trees, and in 1970, the United States Congress set aside a special day to acknowledge mankind's responsibility to the natural environment. And whereas these holidays, now designated as Arbor Day and Earth Day, are observed nationally on an annual basis during the month of April, and whereas trees in the natural environment serve to assist in the moderation of temperature, help provide the clean air we breathe, produce oxygen and habitat for wildlife, and provide a source of joy, beauty, and spiritual renewal for the community. And whereas trees and proper care for our Gladstone environment serve to increase property values, enhance the vitality of business areas, and serve to beautify our surroundings, now therefore I, Bill Garnis, Mayor of the City of Gladstone, Missouri, on behalf of the members of the Gladstone City Council, encourage our citizens to support efforts that focus upon environmental betterment and the planting of trees, and proclaim Friday, April 7th, 2023 as Arbor Day in Gladstone, Missouri, and urge all citizens to participate in recognition of this observance. Signed this 13th day of March, 2023. Quick comment, April 7th at 10 a.m. at Overbrook Park, we will be having a second graders, come over to help plant a tree and do a little skit or song or something. It'd be a surprise. But, come on over, join us. I think you want to. It's always a good time. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
might add that Gladstone has been a tree city for 21 years.
Absolutely. I think part of the Arbor Day recognition is because the city of Gladstone is a Tree City USA and has been designated as such for 21 years. So part of being a tree city involves recognizing Arbor Day every year, which we always do. It's always a nice event with the kids and planting a tree. We will move on to item 8, communications from the audience. Is there any member of the audience that would like to address City Council on a matter that is not on this evening's agenda?
Larry Newport, 1008 Northeast 75th Street. I'd like to know if there's any possibility of how we go about getting a street light at the corner of, northwest corner of 75th and Troost there. It's very dark. There's one on the east side of the street, but on the northwest corner there's no light at all there on the street light, and it's pretty dark when you're coming down that hill to turn into the addition there. I don't know if we'd have to have the rest of the people in Oak Lane to agree to that or not. I have no idea, but I'm just something we've wanted and pondered since we've been there and noticed it's awful dark when you go to make that left turn. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. I know Tim will look into that, into what it takes for a light there. Thank you. Any other comments or questions for City Council on a matter not on this evening's agenda? If not, we'll go to communications from City Council. Councilman Smith.
Mayor Garnos, I usually have nothing, but I'm going to mix it up tonight.
All right.
First of all, just out of respect for the family of Jaden Robker, who was the young man discovered the pond in Gladstone, it's such a tragedy. But also, what may go, perhaps unnoticed is I'm sure that was not an easy find or investigation for the men and women of our department, and I'm sure that was as traumatic for them as well. So, if you would, Chief, please pass along again. Fabulous job. You made us proud. The second thing is, along those lines, is, and others more eloquent than I can speak to this, but Chief Sean Doherty, retirement was yesterday. And, all I could do with Chief Doherty was look at him and say, hey, as a business owner, homeowner, father, husband, grandparent, thank you. And it kind of reminds you of those times where, you should tell people you love them more often. We should tell people like Sean, thank you more often, not wait till they retire, especially under his circumstances. And lastly, just because, we had a water main break in my neighborhood today, and my neighbors were quite upset that kind of thing could happen in the neighborhood of a council person. But my main point is Tim wants to say thank you to your folks. They were out there within 45 minutes of getting the call and projected 8 or 9 o'clock tonight to get it running, and we had running water about the time I walked out the door. So good job to your folks also. That's all, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Spallo.
I can't top any of that, so no comments, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Mallon.
Well, I'm going to say a few words about something called Milo training. It's a training program that every officer within our police force goes through. And for the young men that we have here, it's a very serious replica of maybe what you do at home with a computerized game. Computer simulations are placed upon a screen, very similar to what we would do in the Army when we were preparing for tank gunnery. We'd be inside the turret of a tank with laser guided munitions, and we would go through our fire commands and actually engage targets. Every officer within our police force is required to go through Milo training, very similar. Their handgun is replaced with a handgun that fires a laser round. This year, Chief, I saw that they had the tasers. So the tasers were replaced with a taser that fired a laser round. The officers then are given like an overview of a scenario. They turn around and then they have to make decisions. 3 of trained officers sit, they watch, they listen to the commands that are being given by the individual going through the scenario. After the scenario is over, they provide feedback to that officer. Why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why did you say what you did? And it's a very, very valuable training exercise that our officers go through. And I have to give them pats on the back. They're communicating on the radio at the same time. They're trying to communicate with the victim and to communicate with the individual that's not making good choices. And once the scenario comes to somewhat a conclusion, what are they going to do? Do they need the EMTs, the paramedics? Do they need help with an individual that's having a mental issue? But Chief, the three guys that provided the feedback to the officers going through, very professional. It was an excellent opportunity for our officers. I want to give you a pat on the back for bringing the Milo into our city again. Thank you. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to add my note of thanks for the Milo training, 'cause this was the first time I had gotten to do it. Councilman Malams had mentioned it for several years, and I've never had the opportunity, so I was with them this year when they were doing it. I learned a lot of things and have even a greater degree of respect for our officers for the tough decisions that they have to make on a split-second time frame. It's scary and it's amazing, and it's remarkable to see how good this training is, and how I applaud their efforts in doing it. It's really a great thing for our residents. I also wanted to add my note of appreciation to Chief Doherty for his 25 years of service to this city. It was a very meaningful celebration, both for those in attendance and for the chief. He was very touched by the celebration yesterday. I also wanted to give a shout out to Parks and Public Works for trash cleanup that they did recently. That's a big issue across the metro, and anytime that there's an effort made toward trash pickup, I'm all for it. I also wanted to make the announcement that our Linden Square was awarded the Great Public Space Award. I know Austin went to Jefferson City to pick that award up, and so that's really a great thing for us, and a great tribute to Linden Square and all the great things that happen in that venue. So, that's it.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to mention the City Council Candidate Forum coming up on Thursday, March 23rd at the City Community Center from 6:30 to 8 p.m. The forum's going to be moderated by students of the Oak Park High School Government Club. I understand the forum is being co-sponsored by the Gladstone Chamber of Commerce, Northland Neighbors, and Oak Park High School. And I want to thank, of course, Jim Oldebecken for organizing this and for all of his efforts to help inform Gladstone voters and improve our voter turnout. I hope people will attend this event, as I've heard a couple of the candidates have some real potential. Item 10, communications from the city manager, Mr. Wingerson.
Thank you, Mayor. The council's done a great job covering the issues tonight. I was going to talk about Milo and Sean Doherty and police department efforts and public works efforts, but you've done that, so I won't do it. But I will stop with a reminder that there's a general election coming up on April 4th. So become educated on the issues. There's a couple of things on the ballot for the city, and of course, the candidates that you just mentioned, Mayor. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 11, the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please explain and read the consent agenda?
A consent agenda allows the City Council to consider and approve routine items of business without discussion. Any member of the City Council, the city staff, or the public may request removal of any item from the consent agenda and request that it be considered under the regular agenda if discussion or debate of the item is desired. Items not removed from the consent agenda will stand approved upon motion by any council member, second unanimous vote to approve the consent agenda as published or modified. Consent agenda. Consider special event permits at Atkins Johnson Farm and Museum. 10-year anniversary celebration, Saturday, April 8, 2023, 1 to 4 p.m. Walk and Wag, Saturday, April 22nd, 2023, 8 a.m. to noon. Civil War Muster, Saturday, April 29, 2023, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Afternoon tea, Saturday, May 13, 2023, 2 to 3:30 p.m. Children's Garden Day, Saturday, July 15, 2023, 9 a.m. to noon. Picking on the Front Porch Bluegrass Concert, Saturday, September 16, 2023, 7 to 9 p.m. Big Show Country Fair, Saturday, September 23, 2023, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Annual Cemetery Tour, Saturday, October 21, 2023, 7 to 10 p.m. Photos and Cookies with Santa Holiday Nights Open House, Saturday, December 9, 2023, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Thank you. Does any member of the audience request the removal of any item from the consent agenda for discussion? City Council? Mr. City Manager?
No, sir.
Is there a motion?
Mayor Garnis,
Councilman Mallum?
I move to accept the consent agenda as it was presented.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as listed. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as listed, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to our regular agenda. We'll start with Resolution R-23-07, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a proposal from Flock Safety for a 5-year subscription for 12 fixed license plate readers at an annual cost of $30,000, plus an initial installation cost of $4,200.
Mayor Garnis,
Councilman Smith.
move to approve resolution number R-23-2007.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution R-23-07. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting Resolution R-23-07 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Resolution is hereby adopted. Item 13, Resolution R-23-08, a resolution authorizing acceptance of a proposal from Olathe Ford, Olathe, Kansas, for the purchase of 4 2023 Ford Bronco Sport SUV vehicles for use as detective vehicles at the total purchase amount of $121,480.
Mayor Garnis,
Councilmember Spallo.
I move to approve resolution number R-23-08.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution R-23-08. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting Resolution R-23-08 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Resolution is hereby adopted. Move on to item number 14, Resolution R-23-09, a resolution authorizing acceptance of a proposal from Feld Fire, Carroll, Iowa, for the purchase of a 2022 Ford E-450 McCoy Miller Type 3 ambulance for a total purchase amount not to exceed $216,650.
Mayor Garnis,
Mayor Pro Tem Moore.
I move for the adoption of Resolution R-23-09.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution R-23-09. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting Resolution R-23-09 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Resolution is hereby adopted. Item 15, Resolution R-23-10, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with JAB Technology America, LLC, for the purchase of computer towers, monitors, and TV screens for the co-located Emergency Services Communications Center in the amount of $34,918.
Mayor Garnis,
Councilman Mallum.
I move to approve resolution R-23-10.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution R-23-10. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting Resolution R-23-10 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Resolution is hereby adopted. We will move on to the first reading of Bill number 23-13, an ordinance authorizing Google Fiber Missouri LLC to operate within the right-of-ways of the City of Gladstone, to construct, install, maintain, and operate fiber services, and to authorize the city manager to execute agreements therewith.
Mayor Garnis,
Councilman Mallum.
I move to place Bill number 23-13 on its first reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to place Bill number 23-13 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of placing Bill number 23-13 on its first reading, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, Bill number 23-13, an ordinance authorizing Google Fiber Missouri LLC to operate within the right-of-ways of the City of Gladstone to construct, install, maintain, and operate fiber services, and to authorize the city manager to execute agreements therewith.
Mayor Garnis,
Councilman Mallum.
I move to accept the first reading of Bill number 23-13, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of Bill number 23-13, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of placing Bill number 23-13 on its second and final reading, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, Bill number 23-13, an ordinance authorizing Google Fiber Missouri LLC to operate within the right-of-ways of the city of Gladstone to construct, install, maintain, and operate fiber services, and to authorize the city manager to execute agreements therewith.
Mayor Garnis,
Councilman Mallon.
I move to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 23-13 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.632.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 23-13 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.632. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Spallo?
Aye.
Councilman Mallon?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Garnis.
Aye. Bill number 23-13 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.632. Item 17. First reading of Bill number 23-14, an ordinance approving a collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 42, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement.
Mayor Garnos,
Councilman Smith.
we place bill number 23-14 on its first reading.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to place Bill number 23-14 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of placing Bill number 23-14 on its first reading, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, Bill number 23-14, an ordinance approving a collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 42, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement.
Mayor Garnos,
Councilman Smith.
we accept the first reading bill number 23-14, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of Bill number 23-14, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of placing Bill number 23-14 on its second and final reading, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, Bill number 23-14, an ordinance approving a collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 42, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement.
Mayor Garnos,
Councilman Smith.
move we approve the second reading bill number 23-14 and enact as ordinance number 4.633.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 23-14 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.633. Is there any discussion? I know I'm not supposed to comment on collective bargaining agreements because it's never helpful. If there's no comments, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Spallo?
Aye.
Councilman Mallon?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Garnis.
Aye. Bill number 23-14 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.633. Item 18, is there any other business for City Council this evening? If not, we will reconvene for our next regular meeting in 2 weeks on March 27th. We are adjourned. Good meeting.